Hello everyone. We're going to have a short lecture today, and I'm going to review the findings of the Flame Committee regarding the first flame. I wanted to go through this because it is impressive how much work the committee went through to reach the conclusions that I simply went over with you briefly at the end of the first 9 days of the course of the 9 Gates of the Phoenix. Let me give you an idea of the depth of research that was conducted to reach the conclusions that I presented to you. In Hawaiian, so for the Central Gate, it is in Hawaii. English is the main language, but we are also looking at the ancient language, which of course is Hawaiian. From this, we gathered a group of 3 elder Hawaiians and consulted with an ancient Hawaiian dictionary. For the word, and this is for our first flame, traces of empty. Traces, the word huna, can mean minute particle. It can also mean hidden. An example of the use of huna would be hunakai. Hunakai means sea spray. Now, you may remember in Master Teacher Tote's comments on the first flame, he specifically mentioned sea spray. So when Cindy was reading this to him and she said sea spray, Tote said good, good. The sea spray, good. Kahuna, that is a word that many Americans have heard. Kahuna, like the big kahuna. Kahuna can mean a priest, a magician, a wizard, a minister, an expert in any profession. It can also mean a wise man or a shaman, an important person, or the person in charge. So the big kahuna. It's also, in surfing, considered a very large wave. Now, the word empty in Hawaiian would be nia. Now, huna nia, or kahuna nia, will be traces of empty. So the selection of that committee was kahuna nia. To this, Tote said, yes, good, very good, Central Gate. Now we get to the Eastern Gate in Taiwan. And let me just say that they submitted a review that was over 20 pages long, analyzing every aspect of what language should be used and how to apply it to traces of empty. They first considered what the proper range of the land of the Eastern Gate would be. It is in a mountainside in central Taiwan, so was it just going to be that, or would it cover the wider area of primary influence, namely Taiwan, China, and Japan? And then they analyzed the options for this. They said that if we restrict the definition of the range to just that immediate location, the acres surrounding it, then the residents hundreds of years ago would belong to an indigenous group called the Sedic indigenous group. And their language belongs to the Austronesian languages. And then they said, on the other hand, if we extend our scope to the primary area influenced by the Eastern Gate, in the Eastern Asia, including Taiwan, China, Japan, and Korea, then the dominating culture is the Chinese culture originated from the Yellow River area of mainland China. And its early words would be expressed by the oracle scripts and the bronze scripts and the seal characters. While the oracle and bronze scripts are the earliest Chinese word originated from the Shang dynasty in 1350 BC, the seal character is the first officially unified Chinese word character, which could be dated to 221 BC. Then, through an extensive analysis, the Eastern Gate Committee decided that to select the native language just in that immediate area of the gate would not be fully representative, because those people amount to 0.6% of the Taiwanese population, whereas the Han peoples amount to 97% of the Taiwanese population. Also, there's a practical difficulty with the indigenous language in that it's not written, so there's no way to actually research it. There are 16 officially recognized indigenous languages in Taiwan. But then they reached their conclusion. They said, in terms of representation, the ancient Chinese words are more suitable for the depiction of the cultural spirit of the Eastern Gate than the Taiwanese indigenous languages would be. From the aspect of energy field, using the wider eastern area to define the land of the Eastern Gate will have the whole perspective, covering a much wider scope of its energy than using the much restricted spot view of the very location of the Eastern Gate. Taking the primary influenced area, Eastern Asia, into scope, it not only considers the region of influence in space, but also the historical inheritance in time. Both the people of the Eastern region and the historical inheritance in this area have their origin from Chinese. In this regard, the ancient Chinese characters are more suitable as the early language expressions for the scroll for the Eastern Gate. And Todt to this said, yes, this is correct. Continue. Then Sini continued with their conclusions. Considering the same origin from the Austronesian languages for both Hawaiian language and Taiwanese indigenous languages, it's suggested to apply the Hawaiian language as the early language for the Central Gate and apply ancient Chinese characters as the early language for the Eastern Gate. Here, the committee pointed out that the Austronesian languages actually then went over to Polynesian, which went over to Hawaiian. So ancient Chinese would be similar to the Austronesian languages of the indigenous peoples in Taiwan. Since we are using Hawaiian for the Central Gate as its ancient language, that means we still get the same effect from those languages with Hawaiian. And they said in this way there would be a distinction between the early languages of the Eastern Gate and the Central Gate. Both important languages would be covered. And then from the aspect of translation, for the Eastern Gate in Chinese, the oracle and bronze scripts are not suitable to be selected as the primary characters to represent the translation, owing to the number of characters of those two scripts, which are far less than sufficient. Instead, it would be suggested to use the late seal characters as the main characters of the early language to represent the translation of scroll contents for the Eastern Gate. And so then they analyzed keywords for traces of empty. So empty, there are two options to choose from, and these are in the traditional Chinese script, but they both mean empty. However, based on what Todt had said for the first flame, the committee felt that the Buddhist version of empty was more appropriate. For example, the name of the monkey, Sun Wukong, means the realization of the empty. And the empty that the monkey realized is the same as the empty of the phrase, traces of empty. And then beyond that, there's the teaching of, and again, the Chinese characters that they're referencing for empty that mean absolute nothing from Tai Chi. From the one, absolute nothing, emerges the Tai Chi with the opposite two, which is represented by the harmonically circulating yin and yang opposites of the Tai Chi diagram. This empty is embedded in the religious thoughts of the Chinese traditional Taoism. The supreme goddess, the mother of absolute nothing, is the mother of everything. The meaning of that empty is not only empty, but also an absolute negation of everything. For example, infinite equals non-finite. This negation of empty is like a sharp sword of wisdom cutting all that is bound. So that is just a brief summary of the extensive analysis that the Flame Committee for the Eastern Gate sent to us, and I wanted to share it with you because when I provide the commentary from Todt on each of the flames, we talk briefly about the analysis from the committee, the Flame Committee, but we mostly focus on Todt's words. But I wanted you to know that the committee, the Eastern Gate Committee, the Western Gate Committee, the Central Gate Committee, does quite a bit of research before Cindy presents the findings to Todt, and then Todt gives his commentary on it. Okay, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. I'm going to have another lecture for you on Wednesday.